You know what I mean? I always grew up in fear. My biological father, he was chemically dependent, and from a young age, you know what I mean, I felt that, because like there would be times where I'd go up to my dad and he would just run because he was so paranoid. He would think people were out to get him. His son, I was 6, 7 years old, he would run from me when I would see him. You know, came up with my dad, had my sister, and just dealing with my dad was so stressful for her, you know what I mean? Because he would steal the Christmas presents and she was just paying the bills. She was struggling. I got scared. I got yelled at. I would take off running on foot. And like, I didn't know where I was going, but anywhere was better than where I was. And I knew that. And I was just running. I didn't know why. I was just so scared. And I was in 6th grade. And this is where things got kind of rough. Well, being in Port Richmond, I was judged. I was picked on. That's when I started fighting. And like, I grew up fighting from there. But I remember like there'd be times I'd be in school and I'd just be like, kids would just be starting fights with me for no reason. I got to the point where I was like, I'm not running from no one no more. Like, if you're gonna cause me pain, I'm gonna cause you pain. You know, I didn't know it, but like, I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel welcomed in that house. So from there, they got out of there because, you know, financially they couldn't pay for rent. So, you know what I mean, they got kicked out. Moved to Frankfurt, and things like really got rough for me because, like, you know what I mean, I haven't caught a break yet in life. 13 was the first age that I touched a drug. I was at Whitehall Skate Park. A kid that I was with, he was there. He's like, man, you always seem stressed out and down. Like, why don't you smoke some weed? So I did, and I was free. And like, I didn't feel the need to run away physically anymore. I could just run away to a blunt. And then we moved up to Bucks County at the age of 14, and then it was just like a complete culture shock. I moved up there, and you know what I mean, people from the jump were like judging me. I fell right into the group of kids that did drugs. I don't know, at the age of 14, I got into a fight, kind of like an argument with my stepfather, and I think I punched a hole in the wall, and I got locked up for that in Bucks County. As soon as I got in, I'm rebelling. I'm not listening, you know, and at that point, like, I really had like this strong hatred towards God and Jesus Christ. Like, they literally have done nothing for my life, and I have not caught a break yet. Probably the worst experience for me, honestly, is being like not able to run away from anything. Because I went to a place, went to a rehab, I ran. I went to a group home, I ran, and then I went to a boot camp called Northwestern. And like, they broke kids' bones. They were slamming and punching them in the face. Like, they just were. But like, I was just so rebellious. Like, I'd be fighting a drill sergeant. And so I was fighting, I was running, and I never really made a friend anywhere. I was always alone by myself. And from there, I went to a place called Adelphi Village. It's like a 23-in-1 for kids. It looks like state prison for kids. But at that point, I was like, man, I just want to go home. Like, this is rough. Like, I really can't mentally handle this. So I humbled myself for once in my life, followed directions, and I got out of there. And then I came home, and I was all excited to go home. I go home, things are a mess, complete mess. Then I was just like, oh my God, like, when can I catch a break? When is life gonna look up for me? The resentments within my heart kind of equaled hatred. But I went to a place called Glen Mills, and like, I'll say that place changed my life. Very grateful for Glen Mills. You know, and I had all these good things going for me while I was there. I played baseball, I played football, I wrestled. And like, I had that was like a normal high school experience, even though I was locked up. And they were willing to give me a scholarship to a college out in Florida for music. And you know, I messed that up. You know, I went back out, and there was a guy walking off the block, and he wasn't a worker. And he said he had what he had for 15 and it was worth 20. So, you know, I drive to a desolate area. I think it was like right off Castor Ave. And I made sure there was no one that could find me. I made sure if I was gonna freak out, nobody would find me, you know. And I was lowered in my seat, lowered so, like, you know what I mean, I could just lay my head back and feel the euphoric rush of drugs. I went out, I overdosed, like that. Don't even remember it happening. I went out, and like, somehow, some way, the cops found me. And I have no clue how they found me. And I truly give that to God. I feel like God spared my life. I remember I was seizing out in the back of the ambulance, and I was screaming out for God and Jesus. and I was convulsing, like, out of my mind. And I was just like, God, Jesus, help me. Scream at the top of my lungs, shaking, so cold. The EMTs were like smacking me, like, shut up. Like, you did this, you're a junkie. And I'm just like screaming out to God, that God, just help me, help me. I went to a rehab. I was in a room. I asked around the whole rehab, like, is there any Christians here? Is there anyone that follows Christ? And they're like, no. Next day we get a new dude. They move him in my room. He's a Christian. And he actually finished school to be a pastor. He's his pastoral degree, I think, or something like that. So, you know, it's just crazy. He's preaching me the word, and I'm just like, all right, this makes sense. He's been in my life this whole time. I just never received him, and I've never went to God with my problems. I ran from God. I'm just real grateful. Just so grateful for what God's been doing for me, for my family, for the people He's put in my life. And you know what? Like, growing up, I honestly can't say I've caught a break until now. Like, I finally, like, God has been that break that I've needed. I finally caught that break. Like, I am not defined by what has happened to me or what I've done anymore. I'm not. That's not who I am. I'm a child of God. And I've said this to God, that I forgive everyone in my life that has ever done me pain. All the resentments, I ask you, God, to take them away from me. Fill my heart with your love and fill my mind with your presence. And I can relate it to that euphoric high, that overwhelming sensation of just being at peace. And like, my mind, it goes silent, and I just feel the presence of God. And there's nothing more beautiful than that in this world. There's no high that can replace that.